Hey, it's me, Hrishikesh, Kannan, popularly known as Hrishikesh. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon now to get the latest videos and get taken into a world of entertainment, culture, sport, business, and current affairs.
The final copy got ready 2 days before release. We did this Bangalore premiere, and I was nervous as hell. That was my acid test. I sat beside them and they're watching their son's life unfold on screen by the guy who's playing him, and he's sitting beside them holding their hand. It's the most surreal experience. And I was all sorts of non-mannerly. Like, I'm only looking at them. There's beautiful happy scenes that are making auntie cry. I'm saying Amma, and I'm wiping her tears while she's watching. Then sometimes uncle says, I didn't say that, and then sometimes he says, I said that, but not like that. All I know is that after the screening was done, they hugged me for so long. And I sat on the ground in front of uncle like this, and he's sitting in the chair, and I just held his hand and I just looked into his eyes, and he told me he was so proud of me. I think the most beautiful moment from that screening was that the sari auntie wore 23 years ago. Major Sandeep, she tied that for his graduation ceremony. And that's the same sari and watch she wore for what was essentially my test.
From me, Hrishikesh, and everybody who's watching and listening, this is a man of the moment, Adivi Sesh. I mean, it's a very noble film to make on this incredible martyr, Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan. And I'm given to understand that you're also the co-writer of the film, and which obviously means that you got ringside view, or listening. You had a listening ear to a lot of the Unnikrishnan's stories narrated, and obviously not in chronological order. I'd like you to talk about those sessions. Did you, like what we journalists do, sit with a recorder, take notes?
Absolutely. I wrote the film. The story and screenplay is by me, and Shashi, the director. We collaborated on Gudachari before this, and we put together a really successful spy film. So before he was on board, it was just me sitting with Uncle and Amma, and in Whitefield in Bangalore, and just listening to them. So many sessions, hundreds and hundreds of hours of them talking. It would make me laugh, it would make me cry, it would make me angry, all sorts of things that a beautiful life encompasses. And I had the good fortune and the opportunity to witness all of that, to actually be, if you see in the film how Prakash Raj sir and Revati ma'am are speaking, I was the audience that they were talking to. So I ended up, even when we were writing the film, I ended up replicating that and made it seem like they're talking to the audience.
Adi, can I call you Adi?
Adivi is my surname.
Is your surname,
yeah. In Telugu, the surname comes first. Right? So you can call me Sesh if you want. Yeah.
Sesh is good.
Yeah.
Sesh, being an army man, a Fauji is honorable enough. But to be a Fauji with a sense of humor is unique.
Yes.
And I think that's what made Major Sandeep what he was all about, apart from the courage and the valor. Because a lot of us, when we are supposedly brave, we lose our sense of humor. We become morbid, and then we start taking ourselves too seriously and things like that. And that was never his problem, was it?
No, I mean, on the contrary, my whole image of him originally was like, okay, he's going to be this serious Tagada man. But that famous, iconic passport photo, let me tell you the backstory on that. So he goes and sits in front of the guy, some small shop in a Bangalore colony. And he says, sir, I'm here for the passport photo. The guy says, ready? And he goes like that. And the guy says, sir, passport photo ke liye aise haste nahi hai. And then, so he's trying to control his laughter, and that's when they take the picture. So that's how this iconic photo was put together. So that is his whole life. He's sunshine. His friends called him Sandy. Every girl in school had a crush on him. Always wanted to wear branded clothes. Was a big Schwarzenegger fan, very cosmopolitan, but yet traditional at the same time. Spoke Malayalam, spoke Kannada, spoke Hindi, spoke English, spoke some Telugu. Just An extraordinary man. And I genuinely feel, as somebody who researched his life in depth, the 31 years that he lived are so much more beautiful than the 36 hours where he saved hundreds of people.
Wow, that's a very, very beautiful thought there. And I believe that despite all the enmity and warfare, war is not kind to anybody. But here was a guy who actually enjoyed his Sufi music, and
He did.
there are instances of him wanting a certain kind of music to be played on an FM radio network across the border.
Yes, back then there was no FM, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was only AM. So certain parts of the border, the Indo-Pak border, the only stations you can hear even on the Indian side are the Pakistani radio, and they would play Bollywood songs. So what he would do is he would call them and say, play me this Hindi song from this movie. And they'd say, who is it calling? He'll say, I'm an Indian soldier from this side. So he'd actually do that. He was extremely clear that he didn't hate anyone, but he would protect his motherland at all costs, which is perhaps why we decided to go with the hashtag Jaan Dunga Desh Nahi, not out of some false sense of patriotism, but I think that is the lens through which he lived life. Imagine being in the 6th grade and getting an army haircut. By 9th or 10th, you've probably saved someone from suicide. You've saved animals. He lived, loved that way.
You know, when we were kids growing up in the 90s, we all used to crush on Namrata ma'am, your producer. And, you know, filmmaking
Mahesh sir, I had no part in this.
Sorry, Mahesh sir, but, you know, millions crush over you and some have crushed on ma'am. And, you know, filmmaking is such a collaborative art. I mean, we will come to Shashi, but the fact that Mahesh Babu and, you know, Namrata ma'am produced this film, and I believe with absolutely no conditions. I mean, that surprises me because, I mean, I'll tell you how it works in Mumbai. If you do commercial films and you believe in commercial films, so be it. I mean, no value judgments. You instinctively say, let me gauge how much money this movie is going to make. Is it mounted on a massive canvas? And you're what? You're 4.5 crores? 5 crores?
What?
The movie? I mean,
no.
more?
It's a 35 crore film.
Whoa, mamma mia. Fine, I've got my numbers way off. But, you know, somebody of a Mahesh Babu stature, you know, where he can back a massive, mega kind of film, to really put their might behind this, that must have been very heartening for you. Yeah.
I mean, in the South, Mahesh is famous for his honest tweets about films. So he's tweeted about 2 or 3 of my films. He loved Gudachari, he loved Yavaru. He launched the trailer of Kshanam also. And Kshanam was remade in Hindi as Bagi 2. So I've been fortunate to have quite a bit of success. My last 4 films before Major all did record business for me. So I was able to do that in a very quick time because it was only in 16 that I became a lead actor. So when we met Mahesh sir and Namrata ma'am about this film, it was the people they trusted. He loved Gudachari. And so it was Shashi and I coming together again after Gudachari. He knew what we wanted to do. We told Namrata ma'am these kinds of things that I just told you about Sandeep sir, about how he might have saved someone. It was a very freewheeling discussion and there was no script. So I think what they trusted was, 1, we were going to keep it in budget, which we did. And 2, we were going to take this thing and make it massive, which we did. And what's extraordinary is we broke even a year before the film released as producers. I'm one of the producers on the film.
Sweet.
And all buyers, all parties broke even by day 3. By day 2, it was my biggest film ever. By day 3, all parties broke even. And since Monday, it's all been cherry on the cake.
Yeah, so, you know, now it's all coming to me. As a South Indian, I check the Hindu every day. It's one of those things. Even if you
have to check the Hindu, right?
Check the Hindu.
Yeah.
And Shashi gave an interview saying, in film school, we make films of 4 or 5 crores and we think it's huge.
Right.
And to have somebody like a Mahesh Babu and Namrata back us was amazing. So that's where that thought was stuck in my mind when I was studying for this interview. Mahesh Manjrekar is actually a Marathi film royalty, man. I mean, you can...
My other favorite, Mahesh.
Yeah. And, you know, Sai is in the film and She's done a splendid job. I'd like you to say a few things about your leading lady.
There's a beautiful connection there. I discovered Namrata ma'am through Vastav, and Mahesh Manjrekar sir directed that film.
Yep.
And it's so beautiful that Namrata ma'am was able to reach out to Mahesh sir and say, listen, we'd like to picture a film, because Shashi and I had seen a song from Dabang, which we thought were like, she's like fresh air, she's like a breath of fresh air, who is this person? And we're like, oh, she's Mahesh Manjrekar's daughter. So, we reached out, and I remember that it was strange. Sai was in Vizag, and I ended up flying there and narrating the film to her and Medaji, her mom. And I'm sitting there, and there's all these people looking at me because I'm an actor, but I'm actually, as a writer, narrating the script to Sai. And I'm so fortunate she did the film, because despite coming from film family, and I'm a complete outsider, despite coming from a film family, no judgments, no sort of hoity-toityness, and the fact that she completely said, I'm a blank canvas, what do you need me to do? And she would go at it for hours, to the point that halfway through the shoot, she said, listen, I noticed that you, Revati ma'am, Prakash Raj sir, Shobita, all of you all are going to be dubbing for yourselves in Hindi. We said, yeah, we are. Then she said, can I dub for myself in Telugu?
Good on her. Wow.
So, you won't believe this. As long as it took for her to shoot, that's how many days it took for her to dub in Telugu. But she got it done. So we're really proud that in this film, all actors,
And she must have written it phonetically in English or Hindi or whatever.
Yeah, phonetically in Marathi. Yeah.
Marathi.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And my God, Prakash Raj, Revati ma'am, they're all legends, man. I mean, it's just, and if I'm not mistaken, Prakash sir met the Unnikrishnans?
No, he's actually friends with
He's
Uncle.
friends. Oh, yeah.
So, they've met on several occasions. So it's like, it made sense that Uncle is such a fiery man. It made sense that we get a fiery actor to play him. So I think they look very different as people, but that internal persona is the same. And Revati ma'am by far is my favorite in the film. She says so little, but says so much with her eyes. And she's so small, and when she sits in front of you, I remember doing this train scene with her, and I was just doing it. I thought we all did a good job. It was fine. And then I look at the close-up. I'm like, holy hell. There's so much that is being conveyed. I was like, can I please redo my close-ups? Because this isn't going to work. If I can't be overshadowed this badly by this legend. So I think she was extraordinary. Both Mahesh sir and I feel that she's the best in the film.
When the first screening happened, I don't know if you showed the Unnikrishnans the entire film or did you show them patches? I know you're always told as middle-class boys it's bad manners to stare. But if I was in your shoes, Shesh, I would have been, just peeking over and trying to stare. And what was the reaction?
It's this weird convoluted kind of thing that happened. We were trying to get on these general entertainment shows like Kapil Sharma, Dance India Dance, and turns out all of them were shut. Kapil sir was apparently shooting for some film. Dance India Dance, the season was done, so we didn't know what to do. Like, how do we get the word out in Hindi? I'm a new actor here. So we said, for the first time in Indian history, a big Indian film said, 10 days before the release, on Book My Show, 10 cities, exclusive screenings, you can book your ticket on Book My Show and go. That there's risk of piracy, there's risk of bad reviews, all sorts of stuff. There's risk that some reporter is going to go in and trash the film. But we did it because we believed in the soul of what we were doing. And that was before we had shown Uncle and Amma the final copy. And we were showing the rough copy in theaters. So I think there was a little bit of heartbreak that they had seen scenes on laptops, but there's army people seeing the film before we do? But there was a reason for it. The final copy got ready 2 days before release. They saw it. We did this Bangalore premiere and I was nervous as hell. That was my acid test. I sat beside them and they're watching their son's life unfold on screen by the guy who's playing him, and he's sitting beside them holding their hand. It's the most surreal experience. And I was all sorts of non-mannerly. Like, I'm only looking at them. There's beautiful happy scenes that are making Auntie cry. I'm saying, Amma, and I'm wiping her tears while she's watching. Then sometimes Uncle says, I didn't say that, and then sometimes he says, I said that, but not like that. All I know is that after the screening was done, They hugged me for so long. And I sat on the ground in front of uncle like this, and he's sitting in a chair, and I just held his hand and I just looked into his eyes, and he told me he was so proud of me. I think the most beautiful moment from that screening was that the sari auntie wore 23 years ago. Major Sandeep, she tied that for his graduation ceremony. And that's the same sari and watch she wore for what was essentially my test.
Wow. Now, from the emotion of it to the espionage of it, I mean, I'm thinking that, you know, being a fan of all these Israeli shows with Mossad and things like that, these terrorists didn't, they planned it and they had everything possible to understand every corner of the building, which is the Taj. So, being a fan of, you know, the espionage genre, now that you told me about Gudachari, I believe that also is about raw and intelligence and things like that. I got to go and watch it, man. Guilty. So
it's been dubbed with a funny title, Intelligent Khiladi, if you want to watch it. Yeah, if you want to watch it.
So the espionage of it, in the sense that these guys had everything. I think Headley gave them everything, you know. But Major Unnikrishnan and the gang didn't have anything, right? They had no eyes, ears, nothing before they went in. I mean, so how did they grope their way through this, through the Taj?
I think that's one of the most important things that we bring up, that when the NSG landed inside the Taj, the Marcos had already been there, the police were getting killed left and right. Police had been fighting bravely by then, vacated so many civilians, but still there were so many more left to be saved. They'd come in and they said, where's the blueprint? And they said, the architect who has the blueprints is on vacation, he's not picking up his phone.
Wow.
There's no blueprint. So they had hand-drawn rough maps that they had to work with. And we talk about that in the film. While the terrorists had proper blueprints. There was no CCTV. It was all burnt. The server room was burnt. So you don't know where you're going. There's no power in half the hotel. There's smoke everywhere. Bombs going off, fire in different places. There's no map. There's no light. And you're walking into what is essentially a trap set by the rat at any given point of time, while trying to save people who are waiting for you. I think it's an extraordinary, extraordinary situation. And for a moment, I'd like to talk about his final moment, because I feel like someone we worship and respect like Gandhiji, his final words were, "Hey Ram," right? And Major Sandeep's words were, "Don't come up, I'll handle them." Now, imagine being someone who, it's not being killed in action. You know if you go in, you're not going to come back. So you tell everyone else to get lost, and you walk in. That is an extraordinary kind of courage. And the only positive thing to come of that in that sense was after he went in, 4.5 hours of gun battle and screams, and no one knew what was happening. There's no eyewitness, there's no CCTV. So it gave us all sorts of flexibility to design these elaborate action sequences in the film. And we're really proud that we were able to show our own Indian superhero. We don't need Captain America, we have Major Sandeep, you know.
I like Shobita. I mean, I don't know if you know her from before, but her body of work is quite incredible. I mean, she's definitively indie thus far. You know, she's worked with guys like Anurag Kashyap and very edgy kind of movies. And here she is in your film. So was that an automatic casting choice? Were there a lot of screen tests on that?
She's a dear friend. So she's a Telugu girl from Vizag. Yeah. And her first Telugu film is Gudachari. So it was a second collaboration, and we needed someone to play a lead role who has gravitas, somebody who can pull off a New York businesswoman in a very simple manner. And she's based on a real hostage. She plays a hostage in the film, and she's based on the real hostage who was sort of someone we met, and it's a man in real life, and for privacy reasons we changed his gender. But what an extraordinary story that is. And I think she took the least takes out of everyone in the film, I think.
That's nice. You have an interesting journey. I mean, I believe you went to Berkeley?
I grew up in Berkeley. My grades weren't good enough to get into UC Berkeley, but I grew up in Berkeley, literally right next to the campus.
Is there somewhere near the Berkeley College of Music?
No, that's UC. Berkeley College is somewhere else. UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, the famous #1 engineering university in the world.
Wow.
So I grew up there. I went to school for cinema, San Francisco State University, dropped out my third year. Said, I'd rather make movies than read about making movies. and struggled my way in, Telugu cinema, and sort of eventually did these, the very South Indian story, which is you're doing the supporting roles, then you do the villain, then at some point you crack something and you get the lead role in a successful film. That's how it happened. So I was in Bahubali, I was in Panja, I was in a bunch of movies, and then 16, I turned into a lead actor.
So Shashi and Sesh.
Yeah, Sashi and Sesh, yeah.
Man, this is the stuff that dreams are made of. You have a director who's a mate of yours, you're a writer actor yourself, and you obviously have great camaraderie in the sense that you have a great understanding, or do you bicker sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, we bicker a lot, but I mean, we bicker the way family does.
Yeah, that's good.
Our friendship is 11 years old. He's from New York Film Academy, small town guy, lived all over India. So he's very worldly in that sense. And I'm fire and he's water. So I think he sort of, if not, I'm just going to be energy going off like an energy ball in different directions. I think he sort of holds me together. So I might write something beautiful in a scene, but if you're feeling what I wrote, it's because he made it happen.
Wow. So the future's so bright, you have to wear shades. Wherefore from here, my friend?
I think we're really proud that we were able to shoot this film scene for scene, shot for shot, dialogue for dialogue in Hindi, and the same in Telugu, and create two different films, two different experiences of the same story. And I plan on doing that in at least 2 of my next 4 films.
Lovely. Well, there's going to be more from Sesh. Major is in theatres now. It's an important film. Go and watch it. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you, brother.